everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany and today we are reviewing Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. This is the sequel to the Beetlejuice movie, the iconic Beetlejuice movie that has been known and beloved for several decades now. I kind of told you guys I thought this movie would be a big hit, and so far I have been proven to be right. It's doing super well at the box office, it's doing really well with critics. So overall, I was pretty right. Hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. But what did I think of the movie? Not just, like, how do I think of its box office or its success? What do I think of the movie? Well, I have some mixed thoughts. If you watched my video on Twitter, please go follow me on Twitter, because on there I give, like, little out-of-theater reviews once I see a movie. So if you want to see my quick out-of-theater thoughts, make sure you go follow me on my Twitter at Brittany Reacts. And in my video, I did say that I liked most of this movie. I liked about 3/4 of it, but I thought the last act was pretty bad, to be honest. I thought it was a mess, but we're going to go into why I thought that and what this all means, and would I recommend this movie to you? Does this movie even need to exist? As I kind of posed the question on my thumbnail, was this really worth it? Was it really worth it to go and redo this movie? Did Warner Brothers need to do this? So we're going to discuss it all in my review, so I have a lot to go over, a lot of slides as usual. I do want to say hi to you guys though. Hi Dee Dee, hi Potato Girl, hi Natanya, hi the Blue Gecko Nerd, hi Alexander, hi Connor, hi Riaru, hi Adrian, hi Cheetah Viper, hi Valerie, hi Nate, hi Jal Pedro, hi DeBoy, hi the Blue Gecko Nerd, hi Jimin. Thank you to every one of you who is already here, ready and waiting, even if you haven't commented in the chat. I appreciate you guys being here. Hi Arvin, hi Raylan, hi Vincent. So, let's just jump straight into the review since you guys have already, a number of you are already waiting here. So, let's just go straight into it. So, Beetlejuice. As I said, I have mixed reactions. This is a spoiler review, by the way, so if you don't want to know spoilers, maybe come back to this later, but I am going to be spoiling a number of things that happen in the movie. So, overall, I did like this. I would say it was a solid like. Not a love, but a solid like. And I'm going to go into my exact reasons why I didn't love it, but before I get into what I didn't like, let's go over what I actually did like about this movie. And there is quite a lot, to be fair. Like I said, I liked most of this movie. So, things I liked. The set. I think the production design in this movie is absolutely excellent. I love how much of the set was real and not just virtual. It felt very tangible. It kind of reminded me of, like, the goth version of Barbie, where, like, they actually built a real set for people to walk around in, and it felt that way. But it's, you know, everything's goth and morbid and all that, and it's really cool. I just love the attention to detail and all the sets. Like, that's why I chose this photo here, just because you can see, like, all the papers on the desk, on the ground and everything. And I believe a lot of these dummies are practical, so, or a mix of practical and digital, I should say. So I just think that they did the setting and the visual effects in this movie really, really well. I mean, even when they're in the underworld, and you see all the weird, like, creatures and body modifications that people have gone through because of how they died. And it's just really, really cool. There's always, like, something kind of fun or interesting to look at in this movie. And you guys know I appreciate some good visuals. So I was really quite happy to see just, like, how much eye candy was in this movie, just aesthetically. Really, really appreciated it. Also, I really like the real world, too. Like, I like how they recreated the exact house from the first one. I like how the majority of the house was in the black shroud because it was in mourning. I just thought that was a really cool visual gag. Also really like the town that they were in. Like, it was just so cozy and so atmospheric. Like, I felt like I wanted to go move to that town. Like, they made it seem so charming and nice. I mean, it kind of reminded me of Derry from the It movies. Especially during the scenes where you see Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega, you see Astrid roaming around on her bicycle, and there were several moments where I was like, this looks just like Derry from the It movies. And if I really liked the first It movie, so I consider that a compliment. That's how cozy it really felt. I also really like how once we go to the underworld, it expanded the map a bit. We learned some new things about the underworld we didn't know about before. Like the soul train was new. That was fun. I liked that idea. That was cool. The fact that you have to board this literal train to take you to the great beyond, and then like there's a bunch of people out in the front like dancing to soul music. I really liked that gag. I thought that was funny. I also really liked Michael Keaton's performance in this. I thought he was very strong, very funny. He's not in it as much as I expected, to be honest. I thought he'd be more in this movie, but I would say he's only in like maybe a collective max of like 20 minutes. He's really not in this movie a whole ton. But what little screen time he has, he usually stills the screen, so. And I just love the makeup. Like, he just looks absolutely disgusting and awful. Like, he just looks terrible, but I kind of like that. Like, the hair and makeup in this movie is also one point. Super, super cool, just the way everyone looks in this movie. Also really loved Catherine O'Hara's character. I loved her. I mean, I usually like Catherine O'Hara and everything, but I love that they made her character super successful, and that now she's like this super famous, well, I don't know if she's super famous, but she's at least very like successful artist, and she's able to like sell her stuff and make a good income on that, so that's really cool. Good for her. I also like some of her banter with Lydia. I liked their relationship together. I thought it was kind of funny. Yeah, just really positive things about her overall. Arvin says, well, it's Tim Burton, so the world building would be amazing. Yeah, I would say one of Tim Burton's strengths is world building. And that was definitely one of the strengths of this movie as well. I thought the underworld was done really well and just as enticing in this movie as it was in the last one. Alexander says, I'm happy for Jenna Ortega, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara. They're some of my favorite actresses. I do think that is just like a really solid cast of people. Like, the cast in this is really good overall. Really, really solid. I do think it's maybe perhaps a little too big, and we'll go into that into my negatives. But overall, I thought everyone really committed to the bit. Even when they were told to be a little silly, everyone just really committed to it. So I appreciated how much people weren't, like, just trying to be subtle for vanity. Like, when people were asked to go there, they went there, and I appreciated that. Yes, her interactions with Beetlejuice. Are you talking about Catherine O'Hara? Yeah, her and Beetlejuice's reactions, or I guess I should say banter off of each other, was hilarious. I loved that as well. That's one of my favorite parts as well. And one of my unsung favorite characters that I did not expect going into this movie was Bob. If you've seen the movie, you'll know why Bob is actually so, like I did not, like, expect to actually care about what are these weird creatures, but the way that they wrote him, the way they kept showing him, made me feel bad, like, for the way he was being treated by Beetlejuice. And what happened to him, the fact that he died, I was like, wait, I actually felt bad. Like, I was like, no, wait, I wanted him to live. So I felt really bad for him, and the fact that it seemed like no one was really looking out for him. He was just kind of on his own, and I felt bad for him. But he was a fun, random character that just kind of brought some light to the movie, so I really liked him. Also, really liked grown-up Lydia. I like that she's now this, like, got this big TV show where she talks to ghosts and stuff, and she's like this famous medium. I think that fits her character so well. I think Winona Ryder is really good in this role. However, I do have some negatives in how, like, I guess how she was written, in the sense that I felt extremely bad for her. Like, I felt like not only did her own daughter bully her, and we'll talk about that as well, like, I thought Lydia was just trying to be the best mother she could be, but, like, Jenna Ortega, for a good majority of this movie, was like, I don't need your help, I don't like you, I don't even believe you, I want you to stay away from me, I like Dad more, like... I gotta be honest, for a good bit of this movie, I did not like Astrid at all, and that's Jenna Ortega's character. I thought Astrid was self-absorbed, selfish, mean, a bully. Like, I did not like her at all. Like, at all. And, like, every time she was just super mean to her mom, I was just like, I don't think Lydia deserved that. Like, why? You clearly see, like, your mother is, like, hurting and under distress, because in this movie they make it very clear that Lydia has basically been, like, traumatized by her experience with Beetlejuice, and that's kind of contributed to how, like, she lives her life now. Like, she's this kind of very, like, I mean, even in the movie, Astrid calls her broken. Like, she knows her mother is not doing okay. Like, she calls her mother broken, but she uses it as, like, a negative. Like, oh, she's so broken. And I'm just like, do you not care about the fact that you even consider your mom broken? Like, why are you being so mean about that and not just trying to help her? Like, it was just stuff like that where I was just like, Astrid really kind of irked me and rubbed me the wrong way. And she only really redeemed herself at the very end. I mean, as Arvin just brought up, I mean, freaking Lydia had to make a pact with the guy that freaking traumatized her just to go save her daughter. Because the whole, like, I guess one of the many subplots in this movie, and there are too many, which I'll go over. Well, one of the many subplots in this movie is that Astrid meets this real boy in town, and they grow to have this connection. But later on, we come to find out this boy is actually a ghost, and he's using Astrid to try to trick her into swapping out her life for his so that he can live again, but that means she'll be trapped in the underworld. And he almost, like, actually is successful with this plan. Like, he takes her to the underworld. That's what prompts Lydia to have to go after her, making a pact with freaking Beetlejuice to go save her daughter. And I'm like, this is a great mother. I'm sorry, but she doesn't deserve this bratty child. I felt so bad for Lydia. I was just like, she's literally doing everything she can for this girl, and she is just, like, so, like, not grateful. But anyway, it did provide, like, at least, this was, like, one of the main storylines in the movie that I was actually interested in, so I liked this story anyway, even though it made me really not like Astrid. But there were so many other, like, B-plot storylines in this movie that I was, like, kind of scratching my head at. Either I thought was kind of useless, like you could have removed it from the story and not much would have changed, or I just thought was kind of underwritten. And there were a couple of storylines that I thought were just kind of dumb. One, I don't understand why they had to bring back this, not back, this is a new character, but I don't understand why this character was even involved. Like, you can remove this woman from the story entirely and nothing would have changed about the plot. If you don't know who this woman is, this is Beetlejuice's ex-wife, who has literally put herself back together. This was probably the coolest, most interesting thing this character did the whole movie, which is we literally saw her, like, put herself back together. I thought that was kind of neat. But after that, all she does is just kind of, like, wander around the underworld, kill some people, kill Bob. And then, like, eventually she shows up at the wedding at the very end, and, like, that's it. She's pretty much defeated. And I'm like, I kind of felt like she was not needed as a character in this movie. Like, this movie is mostly about Astrid and Lydia. And I feel like up until the very end, it should have just focused on them. But this movie kept trying to bring in so many other subplots and other things that I haven't even gone over yet, that it was just like, by the time we got to the third act, I felt like they didn't know how to converge everything properly. So we ended up getting this kind of messy third act, but I'll get to it. Arvin said she was one of the third villains. She was one of the many villains, really, in this story. Yes, there is a wedding. I will get to that. Well, I guess I should say, the pact that Lydia makes with Beetlejuice is the whole reason that, like, Beetlejuice is obsessed with Lydia is because he thinks she's the love of his life and he wants to marry her. So he's like, oh yeah, I'll go help you find your daughter if you marry me. So that's one wedding that's happening, and, like, another example of just, like, all these horrible things that keep happening to Lydia, and she just kind of has to go with it. Another is the fact that she has this, like, real human dude here who I really hated, like, a lot. Not as much as Astrid, surprisingly. That's how much Astrid got on my nerves. But she has this, like, real human husband guy, or boyfriend at first, that, like, he seems very slimy and not trustworthy, and no one likes him except for Lydia. Even, again, this is one of those times where Astrid, her daughter, is like, I don't even understand why she can't see that you're just using her. She's, like, basically trying to insinuate, like, her mom is just so weak and dumb, and I'm like, if you see that she's getting taken advantage of and you're not trying to help her, that kind of makes you the bad guy. Instead, you're just complaining about how she's getting taken advantage of as if it's her fault. Like, I just, like, everything this woman said, not woman, this girl, Astrid, everything Astrid said, I was just like, I don't like you. I really don't like you. But anyway, so he decides he's going to pressure Lydia into marrying him. And so the wedding at the very end of the movie was supposed to be between these two, Lydia and this guy, but it ends up becoming between Lydia and Beetlejuice because of the pact that she made. So that's the wedding that goes on at the end of the movie. Any questions on what I'm saying so far, or any thoughts? The boy says, on top of that, in my opinion, feel free to disagree. I feel like it's a bit odd for Beetlejuice to have an ex-wife. Yeah, that's why I didn't like the ex-wife character. I thought it didn't fit his character at all. I thought it was out of character for him to even have been married. And I thought, like, again, the bride character brought nothing to the movie or the story. She was just kind of there as a distraction. And I just thought she wasn't really all that necessary. The boy says, from what you're describing, sounds like she has a massive listen here, you little ish attitude. Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I felt. I wanted to take Jenna Ortega, like, by the collar sometimes and be like, stop being such an asshole. Like, that's how I felt. Did anyone else feel this way about Astrid? Was it just me that she got on my nerves? I don't know how, because I was just like, she's such a brat. Like, not even like a fun, like, Charlie XCX kind of brat. Like, just an annoying Veruca Salt kind of brat, you know? Like, that's how I saw Astrid in this movie. But anyway. Another useless storyline that I thought was kind of, like, pointless was the fact that Willem Dafoe is in this movie. Did you guys know this? Willem Dafoe is in this movie. He has a very, very small role. His role also doesn't kind of make any sense. He's an actor who's playing, like, a prosecutor who's trying to search and go after the, like, Beetlejuice's ex-wife. And he's also one of the many people that make it to the wedding at the very end. And that's why I found the whole wedding sequence in the third act to be kind of a mess. Because this is the point where you have, like, all the various storylines converging together, and, like, it just kind of felt like every 5 minutes something new and random was happening, and not in a good way. It just kind of felt like an unfocused mess. And I thought the wedding sequence not only went on too long, but it kind of soured the movie for me. And up to this point, I was, like, liking this movie pretty okay. But honestly, the whole dance sequence that they have during the wedding scene and, like, the song that they're lip singing, none of it worked for me. It went on for far too long. I did not like any of this sequence whatsoever. This is what took this movie from me, for me being like, oh, this is pretty good, to being like, oh, it's okay. That's how much I thought the whole wedding sequence was a mess, in my opinion. Does anyone else agree? Did you like the wedding sequence? What did you think? Okay, Ricardo, Astrid was on everyone's nerves, so it's not just me? Thank you. Okay, the world's got forgotten says you thought Dafoe's character was funny. I thought he was okay. I don't think he ever made me chuckle or anything. I thought Dafoe was... Again, he was kind of like the ex-wife. Like, I thought both of these characters here were kind of useless and didn't really have, like, an important role in the movie. And they were just kind of there. You could have taken both these characters out and, like, the story would not have changed much. Okay, someone says you're probably going to enjoy this. I will say, You will probably enjoy this movie if you like campy, fun horror things, if you typically like old school Tim Burton. I do think this is one of Tim Burton's best movies in a long time. I don't think it's a great movie, but I do think it's one of his best in a while, because let's face it, he's been on a bit of a down streak. So if you like old school Tim Burton, if you like the goth type of stuff, I think you'll like this movie. There's enough in this movie to like. I just thought some of the things in it, like the story, the plot, it could have been a little tighter. That's all. Also, I did like how Catherine O'Hara's character died. I also thought that was super random. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean she just randomly dies from snake bites? Like, why did they make her go out in like the dumbest way possible? They just made her seem like a massive idiot. You know? Like, that's how she goes out, like being dumb. And I didn't like that, because up until this point, I was really liking Catherine O'Hara's character. So I thought her whole death sequence was kind of stupid, not gonna lie. Oh, DD, thank you so much for the super chat. I didn't enjoy this movie at all. I'm a huge fan of the first movie, so this movie just pissed me off. Sorry to hear that, sorry to hear that. I do think at certain times, particularly at the wedding sequence, I can't tell you enough, the wedding sequence was just a bit too much for me. Where I thought the kookiness, like, you know, these movies, or at least the first one, is known for being very quirky, very offbeat. That's part of its charm. But I felt like, especially towards the end, the quirkiness started to become a little bit forced, and it didn't feel like it was really working or having the charm that it used to. I can definitely see this movie annoying some people more than it charms them, because it definitely asks you to just go with a lot of stuff. Like, there's a whole part of this movie where, like, Beetlejuice impregnates... Okay, get this. There is an entire section in this movie where Beetlejuice impregnates Lydia, and then, like, the baby immediately comes to term, and she gives birth to a little demented Beetlejuice baby that tries to gnaw on her leg, right? And this happens twice in the movie. Once with Lydia, and then once even with Astrid, as there's like this weird nightmare sequence at the end of the movie too, which I also thought was strange, because I was like, why is time going so fast? What is this montage? But anyway. I mean, the baby stuff was super weird. I will give you that. The baby stuff, this is one of those things where I'm like, some people are either going to look at that and go, ah, okay. And then there's some people that are going to look at that and go, what the fuck is this movie? So I don't know. You could be on either of those sides. It just depends on the kind of person you are. But it definitely has some of those moments where it's like, it's asking you to suspend your disbelief quite a lot. So yeah, it can be a little freaky. Okay, Arvid knows what I'm talking about. You did not like the baby at all. Alright. Yeah, kind of think like Aliens. If you guys remember Alien Romulus, what happens at the end of Alien Romulus when that girl gives birth to the xenomorph baby? Think of a scene like that, kind of, but like with Beetlejuice. Like a little demon Beetlejuice baby, and that's what's in this movie. Very, very weird scene. Not gonna lie. Yeah, it's one of those times in the movie where I'm like, I think they're forcing the quirkiness just a bit too much. This is just a bit too much for the average person. Or maybe not, I don't know. We'll see how well this movie does, like, going on, like, week to week, or if it's just gonna have a big opening weekend and drop. Who knows? It did get a B+ cinema score, so that's not great, but it's okay. So we'll see how it does from here on out. But yeah, it was very, very weird. But overall, I have to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I give it a 7 out of 10 because I really like the production design. Sorry, I really like the special effects and all of the real practical effects that went into this movie. The hair and makeup is great. I like just the general vibe and aesthetics of the movie. I think it looks great. I like some of the characters. Like, I liked Michael Keaton. I liked Lydia. I liked Catherine O'Hara's character. I liked Bob, even. I just could not stand Astrid. I didn't like Lydia's almost real husband. And I thought a couple of the other characters were kind of pointless, like the ex-wife and Willem Dafoe's character. But other than that, like, I thought it was a pretty solid movie, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. What do you guys think about this movie? If you've seen it, how would you rate it? Any thoughts or opinions about this movie that you want me to bring up now? Yes, Anthony, I did see that. We'll talk about that on the show on Thursday, but it's really sad to see James Earl Jones go. I mean, he had a long life. Thankfully, he was really, really old. But yeah, it's still sad to see him go. Vincent Hull says, Jenna Ortega saw the problems that Hollywood studios are facing right now. I think all the actors see the problems that Hollywood is facing right now. I just think a few of them are brave enough to actually talk about it, and Jenna Ortega is one of them. Okay, Potato Girl, it's an 8 out of 10 for you. You laughed a lot. I do think it's a pretty funny movie, so I think overall it's a good time. Like, if you are trying to decide what to do for Halloween, and this is still in theaters, which I'm sure it will be, and you haven't seen it yet, like, this is the kind of movie where I would go watch it with some friends on Halloween or around Halloween, and like, you'll have a good time. It's decent. It's still a solid movie. Arvin says, I think if Astrid gone after his father was much better than Ghost Boyfriend and makes more sense, and they could use Dolores for a third movie. Yeah, I can see that. I just think this story could have been trimmed down and made more concise overall. I think there was too many competing storylines that were competing for attention, and none of them really made sense together, and then they all came together in a nonsensical wedding sequence that went on far too long. That's my overall, like, summary of what I felt about this movie. Not the worst sequel, no. Okay, The World's Forgotten, you had a great time, you thought it was fun, okay. Amelia says you haven't seen the OG, but a good time yanking this? It was disgusting but funny. Yeah, it's a pretty gross movie. That's for sure. Oh, Age of Minutes, it's a 6.5 for you? I can see that. I can see that. Like, it's solid but not great. So I think a 6.5 is fair. And the soundtrack is amazing, Arvin. Thank you for bringing that up. The soundtrack is pretty good as well. Alright. Overall, those are my thoughts on Beetlejuice. Really, really, I liked certain parts of this movie. I thought Michael Keaton seemed like he was having a lot of fun in this. I thought Catherine O'Hara seemed like she was having a lot of fun in this. I wanted to like Jenna Ortega's character more, because I know Jenna Ortega's a really rising star right now, but I thought that woman was like, again, she was so just mean. I guess I didn't like how mean she was to Lydia. Just because I could feel how much Lydia was hurting and, like, was deeply, like, traumatized by her experiences. So I felt very, like, protective over Lydia. And just seeing how Astrid was so mean to her own mother was just making me, like, I don't like you. I really didn't. But overall, mostly it was okay. Mostly it was okay. But yes, that's the review for today. Thank you all so much for coming to my little show here. I appreciate you guys coming. I love that you guys just give me the time of day, honestly. I wouldn't have anyone to talk about if you guys didn't show up, so I appreciate you all being here. I'll see you on Thursday for the next news show. We have a lot of news to catch up on, including the box office for this movie, which is massive, so make sure you subscribe for that. Follow me on